This is the most advanced AI image generator that you can use to develop your art style. Most artists believe that talent is essential to develop an art style and something you are born with, but this is a lie. Talent doesn't exist. Listen very, very closely. What I'm about to tell you is something that most artists in public don't want to admit. There's a formula to it. Developing an art style is randomness plus inspiration plus good taste. And the reason I know this formula works is because I've helped thousands of artists over the last couple of years develop their art style with it. Let's get started. So let's give you a little 20-second overview of what AI is capable of. So I'm going to write a prompt. Can be anything really. Let's do hyper-realist photo of a woman dressed in futuristic clothing that looks a bit like Mona Lisa. So we are going to press enter and the artwork that we are going to get is non-existent. Minus a touch of copyright infringement, of course. Let's take a look. Okay, this is, objectively speaking, not the most handsome woman in the world. I'm not sure what to think about these. Like, this is comes straight out of a horror movie, really. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. This kind of looks okay. I can't see the Mona Lisa in it, but it's definitely doing a great job. I mean, futuristic clothing. How long did it take us? 20 seconds, and this is pretty amazing. So you kind of get the point. AI can make beautiful things extremely fast. Now, if you look at how amazing these images are that AI is generating, we might think by ourselves that we are going to live in a world where everything is going to be beautiful because it's going to be so easy to create beauty. And in that world, we might not appreciate beauty anymore the same way we do now. I personally believe it's going to be the exact opposite, but let me know what you think in the comments. When it comes to developing your art style and AI, the first thing that comes to mind is that we could just let AI develop hundreds of art styles and then copy paste those art styles and pretend that this is an art style that we've developed ourselves and pretend that we've created this. As a matter of fact, there was an artist recently that participated in an art show using AI and he won the first prize. Now, I personally believe this is kind of similar to using a car in a marathon. Sure, you got to the finish line faster, but you also didn't actually do anything, and you can put your signature on something you haven't done yourself. On top of that, doing this will make you feel like an imposter for the rest of your art career because you feel like you don't actually deserve it, and then you will boycott your own success. Now, does this mean that we can't use AI to develop our own art style? No, of course not, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. And so the question becomes, how can we use AI to develop an art style while feeling that we've developed it ourselves? Now, in order to explain this, I will have to explain how AI works. This is the most boring but also most critical part of this video, and so don't fall asleep here. A failure to understand the nuances in how AI works will ultimately lead towards a failure in understanding the most powerful art style strategy ever invented. If we look at the OpenAI website, we see that DALL-E 2 is using 3 strategies to create these images, of which 2 are important for us. Creating edits of an existing image based on a new text prompt and creating variations of an existing image. Now, you might be wondering, isn't creating variations of existing images literally the definition of copyright infringement because existing image means image created by another artist? Well, yes. And no, because they found a solution to this problem. They didn't use the internet as a reference point. No, they created their own database and used that as a reference point. Not the internet, not some random artists out there, not regular people. No, they created it themselves. Here's what they did. They took 5 billion images found on the internet made by other artists, and then they made replicas of those images. And the way they did that is with 2 different machine learning mechanisms. The first machine learning mechanism was used to add noise to the images until it was not visible anymore to the human eye, to human beings. And then the second machine learning mechanism was used to reverse engineer the process and recreate those images as closely as possible to the original. Basically, to fill in the gaps left behind behind by the noise that was added. And because it can technically not recreate the image exactly the same, you're left with an image that is slightly different. Lo and behold, their solution to the copyright infringement problem. What these companies call creating variations of an existing image is like Britney Spears copy-pasting the hairstyle of Christina Aguilera. Sure, she might look like Christina Aguilera, but legally she is still Britney Spears. Even if you would give her a nose job, she would still legally be Britney Spears. If this becomes the new norm, this is pretty scary because AI will literally be able to copy-paste any artwork of any original creator without giving any credits. And in doing so, effectively replacing, or at least partially replacing, all the good artists out there. Anyway, let's go back to the main topic. How can we use this whole AI thing to develop any art style that we want to develop? Well, if you remember the equation from the beginning of the video, art style is randomness plus inspiration plus good taste. Well, if you paid attention, DALL-E 2 just showed us how we can do two of the factors in that equation, inspiration and randomness. Inspiration, which is basically creating a collection of arts that you are inspired by that you can then use in your artistic process, just like AI created a set of 5 billion images that it could use in its creative process. And then for the randomness part, we want to randomly adopt elements of each of those artists that inspire us and then create something new out of that, just like AI is randomly combining things out of its 5 billion long image datasets. Now the randomness part can feel a little bit tricky and can feel like you're stealing from other artists, and obviously you don't have to copy paste as obvious as AI is doing, but not copying anything from other artists is probably not a good strategy either. Salvador Dali said, "Those who do not want to imitate anything produce nothing." The reality is that at some point you will have to copy paste and learn from other artists. You basically want to follow Einstein's advice here and make it the least amount of obvious that you could possibly make it. Einstein said, "The secret to creativity is knowing how to hide your sources." Now there's one more element in this equation, and that is good taste. This is what differentiates Picasso from AI. This is the difference between being the best and just creating something new. And so let's talk about it. Good taste is the ability to know which things to keep and which things to throw away. So let's say you've used the AI process so far. You've created a list of artists for yourself that you can get inspired by, and then you started copy pasting elements from those artists. Now you have 20 elements that you've copy pasted, but only you know that you copy pasted them. For other people it's invisible. And now is the most important part, because now you're going to decide what you keep and what you throw away. This is what it means to have good taste. And good taste is probably the most important part of developing beautiful art. Salvador Dali said, "It is good taste and good taste alone that possesses the power to sterilize and is always the first handicap to any creative functioning." And then once you've done this once, you do this over and over and over again until you're satisfied with your newfound art style. And this ability to have good taste is what differentiates artists, human beings, from AI. AI at this moment is nothing more than a bad artist. It doesn't know what to keep and what to throw away. All the beautiful images you see online created by AI are actually just selected through good taste by human beings, or created through tasteful prompt engineering, again, by human beings. AI doesn't have the ability to know which of its creations is good and which of its creations is bad. AI had very little to do with it, just like Photoshop had very little to do with the beautiful images we saw on Instagram 6 years ago. Now, does this mean that human artistry will go away, that in the future we will not have to make beautiful things ourselves anymore, but just have to have good taste, the ability to select good things? Well, I don't really know, but what I do know is that Picasso wasn't a better drawer than his peers. He didn't have more skill in his hands than other painters of that time. What he did have was more marketing power and better taste. And so perhaps this future already happened. Perhaps it has always been like this. Scott Adams said it beautifully. Creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Art is knowing which ones to keep. According to the statement, we could say that DALL-E 2 is very creative, but not artistic. Talking about artistic, I have several other videos talking about how to develop an art style. I'll link one of my favorite ones in the description and in the end screen. That said, get the hell out of here.